She was a really fun, adorable, very loving, bubbly young woman with a bright future ahead of her.
There was a night game with Nebraska, and that was a big thing in those days. And Ellen's running around the field waving to us while we're there. And Sandy, of course, had a red sweater on until we told her to put a blue one on. But it was really neat to see my daughter running around the field, and she was a Lionizer. She helped the football team. Well, they're on the
She
outside.
loves Penn State.
Yeah.
Loved Penn State.
In fact, okay, I never showed anybody this. I'm not into magnetics and negative ions. I wear this because it's blue and white as a remembrance of my daughter. It's a bracelet. I guess you call it an athletic bracelet or something, and that's how one of the things I look at every day to remember my daughter.
Ellen Greenberg was found on the floor of her kitchen in her condo in Manayunk with over 20 stab wounds, including 10 on the back of her neck. And the police at that time ruled that to be a suicide.
That's what we were told, that our daughter had passed away. I can't tell you what he said. I'm going to call it the shock of the situation does dull certain things, but there are certain things that are very sharp in my mind about what was said to me that night.
They said something about suicide, which I never considered for 1 second. Never, ever, ever would she do that.
It was subsequently changed a day or two later for a finding that it was a homicide as a result of the medical examination done by Marlon Osborne in the Philadelphia Medical Examiner's Office.
I got word that it was going to be called a homicide.
And how did that come
That
about?
Ellen's death was ruled a homicide.
Not a suicide. Right?
And then Josh announced when he spoke during her eulogy, he mentioned that.
It's like somebody punches you hard in the stomach, and again, and the air goes out of your lungs, and you can't breathe. That's what I can't say anything else but that.
The police then, about 3 weeks later, changed it back to being a suicide. And Dr. Osborne, 6 weeks after that, or the beginning of April, over 2 months after she was found dead in her condo, concluded that it was a suicide based upon a report that he said came from a Dr. Lucy Rourke, which he cannot produce, which nobody has ever produced or seen, which she, Dr. Rourke, says she never did, because if she had done it, she would have been paid to do it. There's no evidence she was paid. And it is referenced in one sentence in the report that Dr. Osborne does that then changes the finding from homicide to suicide.
The whole world just fell out from under me.
I have no idea 8 years ago what I was getting into, how anything worked in the criminal justice system, what I would be up against, who I would be dealing with, or anything like that. We just didn't have any experience.
I have a lot of questions about how that could be a determination made by a doctor after he had already made a different determination from his own examination of the body. And I think reaching the conclusion that it is hard to accept that anybody, including a young woman, would stab themselves over 10 times in the back of their neck as an attempt to commit a suicide. The conclusion I can draw is that this was very poorly handled, and it's unfortunate that nobody wants to really take a look at it to determine what might have happened that was missed during the course of an investigation that kept changing from suicide to homicide to suicide.